It's a reasonable question. Why get married when most marriages end in divorce? And if you came to this video believing that this was true, you're in the right place. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to drop some knowledge on you and show you that A, most marriages don't end in divorce, and B, you actually do want to get married even if you don't think you do. Seriously. Stick around if you have a block around marriage, but want to be loved for the rest of your life. I'm Marc Katz, dating coach for smart, strong, successful women and your personal trainer for love. Welcome to the Love You podcast. Keep listening to learn why there are good marriages and how you could have one too. When we're done, I'll let you know how you could apply to Love You to create a passionate relationship that makes you feel safe, heard, and understood. True story, just happened this week. I got a new client, new woman enrolled in Love You. Her name's Melanie. She's 44. She's fresh out of a breakup with a long-term boyfriend, and she is reeling from the pain. And so we get on the phone, and I do my thing, and I ask her to tell me her story. And her dream, and this is true, like what she wants, what would a win look like for her when she signs up for coaching? Her dream, unlike most of my clients, is not to be married. Curious, I asked Melanie why. Turns out her parents had a terrible marriage, and quite reasonably, Melanie associated marriage with a source of pain and a source of conflict, as opposed to what I associate marriage with, which is fun and comfort. So Melanie, upon watching her parents massacre each other, not literally, figuratively, for many years as a child and still as an adult. They never got divorced. They were together for 60 years. She's gotten to witness this entire thing, and she made a vow when she was younger she would never be married or be like her parents. However, Melanie also wanted to have a lifelong relationship that was essentially no different than a marriage. I asked Melanie if she saw a contradiction. She did not. By declaring herself against marriage and exclusively dating men who also didn't want marriage, quite possibly because they too have negative childhood associations with it, Melanie's creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. She's only dating men who are afraid of the word marriage and don't want long-term commitment, and simultaneously wondering why it's so hard to find a man who wants commit, right? Like that does not add up. So Melanie's trying to thread this needle to find a guy who is against marriage, but would make for a great husband, theoretically. So I'm no psychologist, right? She's been to therapy, she's been through this whole thing. We have this short conversation, and I introduced this idea to her, and I'm introducing it to you here as well. I told her that she might want to consider, just think about it, who would make a better long-term partner in theory? Men who do want to marry, or men who make it clear that they don't want to marry? Who would make for a better long-term relationship partner? You know the answer to that question. So Melanie has been fishing intentionally in the wrong dating pool for her entire life and didn't realize it until we had a free 1-hour strategy session before she enrolled in Love You. So I know I'm pushing back pretty hard, especially if you are in the anti-marriage camp. So I want to honor the fact that as I say, there's a million ways of doing things. If you don't want to get married, I'm not your boss. I'm just a guy with an opinion, an informed opinion, but I'm not your boss. You can do whatever you want. You can join Love You and not get married. But I do want to challenge your deep-seated belief the same way that I challenge Melanie's. If I were God, but if I were omniscient, omnipotent, and I were to send you a man who I promised, because I'm God, would make you happy and be there for you in sickness and in health till death do you part, and this man wanted to be your husband, and I could promise you that the next 30, 40 years would be a peach, you'd say no to that because it involves marriage? Framed that way, and I've done this a bunch of times, virtually no woman is going to say no to that proposition. Which makes me ask the question again, are you sure you don't want to get married? Or is it, as I suspect, that you don't want your parents' marriage, or that you don't want your first marriage, or your friend's marriage? It's not marriage you're against, it's bad marriage that you're against. My point is, there's nothing wrong with marriage as an institution. Right? Studies show happily married people are the happiest people on earth. But that doesn't make marriage itself a panacea. Getting married doesn't ensure your happiness. Marrying the right person ensures your happiness. So here's the statistics to go with this speech here. 35 to 40% of marriages end in divorce. Not almost all of them, not most of them, 35 to 40%. But even that number is skewed because the divorce rate among people who marry before the age of 25 is 75%. It highly skews the 40% divorce rate because it's affected by the people who got married too young and ended up splitting up. So if you're a college-educated woman over the age of 30 who's getting married for the first time, your divorce rate is closer to 20%. And staying married, you have an 80% chance of doing it. But then it begs the question, what about those unhappily married people, the people who stay together forever, right, that never divorce? Doesn't that affect things? Absolutely. It's a totally fair point. And once read, and I repeat this even though it doesn't sound good, 2/3 of marriages might be considered unhappy. And that's not really a surprise to me, since most people don't ask these questions and really think about what it takes to build a happy, compatible marriage before they get engaged. They get married at the peak of their excitement, and then they spend the rest of their life fitting a square peg in a round hole, forcing their foot into the shoe, metaphorically, right? Hanging on for dear life because they made a commitment and they have kids. So that's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to get this right and get this right once. So long story short, if you're afraid of marriage and have negative associations with it, don't be. The reason you don't see many Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn, 40 years never married couples is because there aren't many of them. The most commitment-oriented men and the best partners tend to want to get married. So instead of giving up on marriage as a flawed and failed institution, remember there are millions of happily married people who can justify why you should hold out for the ultimate in commitment instead of continuing to tell yourself this lie that you don't want to be married. I got you. My name's Marc Katz. Thank you for tuning into the Love You podcast. For more episodes like this on YouTube, click on the subscribe button, ring the bell, choose all to ensure that you get notified whenever new content comes out. If you're listening to the audio podcast, please share an honest review on Apple. More reviews equals more awareness of the Love You podcast and more love in the world. And if you want to find love right now and you're committed to making healthier choices with men so you could have this easy, happy relationship I talked about where you feel safe, heard, and understood, look for the link below. Apply for coaching with me and love you. I'll talk to you soon. Are you the woman who is everything except your man? You can have the relationship of your dreams and you don't have to change to get it. In Love You, you will gain confidence, let go of unhealthy relationship patterns, learn to trust your judgment, understand and attract quality men, assess long-term compatibility, and create a passionate, unconditionally loving relationship with a partner who puts you first, never lets you down, and always makes you feel safe, heard, and understood. Go to www.evanmarckatz.com and click on the apply button to get started.